It's 13 minutes past 6, and this is BBC Somerset, and it's Ben McGrail with you here, and it's time to meet a man who has followed his dream. And, you know, I bet there are a lot of people listening who wish they'd followed their dreams. Well, this man has. He's Michael Turner, and by day he's a supply teacher in Somerset. He's based in Burnham, but by night he's a daring explorer who spent many, many years retracing the travels of his hero, Sir Francis Drake. And I believe he's been to over 40 countries, and he's got just a couple of trips left to effectively complete his mission. Let's say good evening to him. Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Ben.
Thank you for joining us. Is that right? Just 2 trips left to go then?
Western Sahara and Tierra del Fuego to encompass Cape Horn.
Wow. Goodness, it's South America for Cape Horn. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I've been to 232 places. There's 12 left to go.
Wow.
Cape Horn will be the hardest trip of the lot. I did some of it in 1990. I chartered a yacht and went through the roaring 40s into the screaming 50s to photograph the Magellan Strait in winter.
And what was the original fascination with Francis Drake? When did this begin? Take us back to that.
Well, I was at St Andrews Primary School, junior school in Burnham-on-Sea, and I first learned of Drake when I was about 8 years old, and each year in school I would hear a different story about Drake, and I was flabbergasted. They all belonged to one man's life, larger-than-life figure. And I saw his picture in a fortress in Mexico when I was 24 years old, and the idea was to go draking and photograph everywhere Drake went, everywhere, and I didn't realise what I let myself into.
No, I was going to say, was there this sort of original aim to retrace everything, or was it a smaller aim at first, or was it just that sort of, I suppose, ignorance of not knowing how much he'd done?
Well, you become more thorough as the years go by. First you say every recorded place and every place where the ship anchored, but then if a ship was passing a cape and someone on board noted the cape or the sugarloaf in the middle of an island, I'd go and photograph everything that was noted there, not just every place that was visited, but places seen in passing. And then the latest was I got hold of England's first road atlas from 1675, and I married it to the Ordnance Survey maps, and I retraced Francis Drake's journey from London to Bridgewater, Somerset, to his in-laws' house at Coombs Sydenham near Stogumber, and I had to get out of the car and walk across the fields to get the London to Barnstable Road documented.
So it's taken you all around the world, and yet also really close to home as well. How funny.
Yes, well, this is the beautiful thing when you are trying to get children involved in history, because Drake had a life which you can relive. I know I'm not allowed to go robbing ships, but certainly cutting your way through the jungle and walking along the Sahara desert coastline, or in the world's driest anchorage in Chile in a boat, is what Drake did and what one can do today.
And you've had your own little adventures along the way, haven't you? What's been the highlight? What stands out for you as the best moments?
Well, I had some wonderful moments. I had a free helicopter ride with the traffic police in South Africa, who very naughtily quickly went off course to let me photograph the Cape of Good Hope, which was so stormy, which was the original name of the Cape. So they went off course for me. And just before I came home, I had an audience with Nelson Mandela. I was the first ordinary person in the world to meet him when he came out of prison. And that was a wonderful experience.
Amazing.
Plus getting some free rides on ships, like from Mauritania to Las Palmas.
Didn't you get put in prison somewhere? Is that right? Did I read that?
Yes. Guatemala didn't like the British because we gave them Baileys, and they locked me up for 3 days. Then there was a coup in West Africa about 3 Christmases ago, and the army took over because the president died, and I was locked up because they thought I was meddling in politics. But after 12 hours of lying down on a wooden board in a concrete dungeon, they let me go. But the worst thing when that happens, Ben, is that no one at home knows what's happened to you.
Well, this is it. And I surely in those moments, did you not think, hang on a minute, what am I doing? Bring me back to Burnham.
I do like going home, and it's a great crucible. That's where all the research is conducted, and Burnham-on-Sea is a great peaceful place to study and to prepare to go and see the world.
But do you feel, though, like this has been what you were meant to do? Does it felt like a vocation, a natural thing to be doing?
Yes, I feel quite close to Drake in some aspects, because I'm actually following in his footsteps across the Panamanian jungle, which we did in February. And my joke is, if he knew what I was going to do, he'd have mentioned me in his will. I have a copy of his will in my Drake office at home, and I'm not mentioned.
Unfortunately for you. Have you met anyone that has any sort of similar interest in Drake as you, or if people are going to go to someone that knows about Sir Francis Drake, are you the man to go to?
Well, I'm the only person in the world who has ever gone draking on a global scale.
Right.
I meet people, for example, when I was in Panama last week and the month of February, people came up to me and asked me to sign my books because they used my books to start looking for treasure in Panama. A man had found various items as a result of the map we drew at Nombre de Dios using satellite navigation. He's found gold and pearl earrings and a bar of silver, and they found mule horseshoes and a spur from a 16th century Spanish rider along the Camino Real in Nombre de Dios as a result of our books. John Thrower, who came with me, he wrote a book about Drake's lost treasure, and I wrote 3 books on Drake. 2 of them are about Drake in Panama. So there are about 12 Drake disciples in Panama working for my books. So I do come across some Drakeologists, especially in California. As I said, there's no one who goes around the 323 plus 12 places.
Has it felt like that all the work that you've done over the years, you've left something now that is tangible? So I know you've documented it in a number of different ways. You've left something that can be used in the future to help people.
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm looking for a home for 15,000 photographic slides. I'm lucky that I've earned the privilege of having the world's best Francis Drake website in Drake's wake. And I've had 3 books published. Now I'm working on 1 big book, and there are a very good series of booklets on sale at Brixham at the Golden Hind down in South Devon and in Buckland Abbey. So I am perpetuating Drake in an objective and different way, because when you go doing the field work, you can show the extra dimension, the missing angle, to study Francis Drake in an exciting way that will hopefully inspire other people to photograph their heroes from history before the invention of a camera.
This has been happening since 1980. Have you done trips sort of consistently every single year? Is there a sort of a regular time that you go away and do your trips?
On the website there's a CV of all the journeys I've done around the world, and there is a great consistency. I tend to do 1 or 2 overseas every year. I took 25 years to finish off England in the interim, but I'm very thorough, and for example, I've been to Colombia 7 times, so if I miss something, I've got to go back. When I was in Panama a couple of weeks ago, I only went there essentially for 1 place because it was underwater all year round, but they had a drought and it appeared, and I was able to photograph it after 31 years of waiting. It was a trading post on the Royal Road that Francis Drake pillaged on his way back to the north coast.
Must have cost you a fortune, this, over the years.
Yes, I do get some help. I was accommodated in Panama this time, and living in the jungle for 8 days in February was quite cheap, really.
Yeah. Have you got an estimate of what it's cost over
at least £90,000, Ben.
Oh, wow. Goodness me. Well, I suppose over time, though, over 30 years, maybe that's good value. I don't know, I guess you probably couldn't put a price on it, could you?
Well, it's given me a great sense of satisfaction. I'm just hoping that if I can accumulate any Drake publicity, we could get TV documentaries made on the great admiral, because he has been underplayed by television, and I've got 15,000 pictures to show any TV documentary director where to go for a great story such as the Cape Verde Islands in Panama.
Are you sad that it's coming to an end, this?
Oh, it's not coming to an end. I'm 58 next month, and there will be 2 more journeys, and there's an optional extra. I could hack my way to the north coast of Panama with my team in place to retrace Drake's journey back to the north coast. That's not essential because the journey wasn't recorded as such, but I've worked out the route that Drake would have taken. And also, when I get old and soft, I could give lectures on cruise ships, couldn't I?
You could do one day. Michael, so thank you so much for coming on. good luck with your trip. We'll have to catch up with you once, you know, the next stage is completed. But thanks for coming on, Michael.
Pleasure, Ben.
Thank you very much. Michael Turner, who's from Burnham-on-Sea, a modern-day explorer who's been following in the footsteps of Sir Francis Drake, his hero, for the last 30 years. And when he's not doing that, he's a supply teacher. I think he's in Keynsham today. So he's been all over the place in Somerset teaching as well. But amazing guy. And have a look at his website if you get a chance, which is indrakeswake.co.uk.